When you're starting out with doll making or any other art or craft, you're going to have a lot of questions. Chatting to a more experienced artist can make a huge difference, but approaching people can also feel daunting. So today I'm answering your doll making questions. If you want to have your query answered in a future video, I'm aiming to do a Q&A each month, so look out for a post on the community tab and over on Instagram, and pop your questions in the comments and I'll answer as many as I can. So let's get started. The first question we have is, how long do dolls usually take to make? What's your biggest inspiration for each doll style? I specialise in textile art dolls, which are relatively quick to make compared to something like a clay doll. I've got a lot quicker at making them than when I started 12 years ago. I try to make at least one doll a week. The quickest to make are the beady dolls. I can make a 7-inch hanging beady doll in around 12 hours. The larger sitting dolls with bead jointed limbs generally take a bit longer. Depending on the size and the amount of detail, they'll take around 2 to 4 full days. The dolls I make will change with the seasons. People want different styles and different colours at different times of the year. Halloween's always great because I get to make lots of spooky dolls like ghosts, witches and vampires. In the winter months, I'm drawn towards darker, more gothic styles. When it's spring and summer in the Northern Hemisphere, brighter colours and cute little dresses become more popular. I'm often inspired by the materials I find. This little one that I just finished was inspired by this lovely turquoise and silver ribbon that I found in my local craft shop. I knew I had some acrylic fibre for the hair in exactly the same shade, and it's worked out really well. The next question is, how do you do the hair? Does it stay in place better than sewing it on? For the hair, I use a technique called needle felting. Needle felting is awesome for cloth dolls. Felting needles are razor sharp and have tiny barbs in the sides that catch the hair fibres and kind of tangle them together with the fibre inside the doll's head. It's like a felt fabric. Most types of fibre can be felted. I think the only one that didn't work well was when I tried stuffing the head with cotton. I use Kapok now for stuffing, and that works really well. You just have to hold the hair against the surface of the head and stab through it until it holds it in place. You do have to be careful as the needles are so sharp and quite brittle, but once you get the hang of it, it's great fun. You can felt the hair holding a single needle, but I like to use this, which is the Clover pen style needle felting tool. It holds up to 3 needles quite close together, so it felts a lot quicker, and because it's more stable than a single needle, you get a lot less needle breakage. I'll put a link in the description to the felting tool and the needles I use. I highly recommend this little tool, especially for beginners. I don't know if it stays in place better than sewing, but it is quite strong. It's good for when you're using very fine fibres. I use mostly bamboo or acrylic fibre for the hair. Needle felting probably wouldn't be suitable for a child's toy as it will come away if you pull very hard, but for art dolls it's absolutely fine. I think you get a neater finish than with sewing, and it's easier to create different hairstyles. It allows you to be more creative with the hair without worrying about stitches showing. The next question we have is, what techniques do you use to blend the colours on the face, like around the eyes and the lips? I use soft coloured pencils for shading on the face. My favourites are the Derwent Colour Soft pencils. Colour Soft pencils are really soft and smudgy, and you can get a nice depth of colour with them. They blend smoothly, and the pigments in this range are all vegan friendly. I'm not sponsored by Derwent yet, but I've been using Derwent pencils for literally the last 40 years and they're awesome. For the eye shading, I use a combination of black with different grey tones and some other deep shades. I blend the colours with the Derwent blending pencil. It's like a soft colourless pencil. You go over the colours with it and it blends them together and deepens the shading. I blend the whole area, then go around the edges in tiny circles until I get a nice soft edge. The blending pencil comes in a set with the burnishing pencil. The burnisher is also colourless. It's a little bit harder than the blender, so it's good for finer details. I tend to use that one for blending around the mouth. I fix the shading with an artist fixative spray, and that stops it smudging or wearing off. The next question we have is, how do you come up with the prices for your dolls? Pricing art is so difficult, and I wish I could say, here's a formula I use, just add this and that and apply it to every doll. But it's never that simple. Some artists will charge a flat rate for the time they take to complete a project, but I don't think that's necessarily a fair method of pricing, because as you become more skilled at something, you often get quicker, yet the quality of the work is higher. So you'd be getting paid less for improving your skills, which doesn't give you an incentive to improve. Unfortunately, I think it just comes down to what people are prepared to pay for your work, and that can be hard to judge. As a starting point, you can look at what other artists are charging for something similar and go from there. Art dolls are generally priced higher than toy dolls, and collectors will expect to pay more for something unique and handmade. I had no idea what to charge when I started out. As a beginner, I was selling dolls for around £30. Then I increased the price gradually as my work got better and as I built a reputation as an artist. I try to increase the price a little bit each year, and also if I make significant changes to my designs that make them more expensive or more time consuming to produce. If I make a different size or different style of doll, I try to compare it to my other recent dolls and work out the pricing according to the value that I feel I'm offering. If you can't keep up with the demand, you probably need to increase your prices. If nothing is selling at all, you can either keep dolls up for sale and wait for the right person to come along who loves what you do, or you can work on improving the quality and the presentation of your work until it sells at a price you're willing to accept. If you find there's a demand for your dolls and they are selling quickly every time, it can be a good idea to hold an auction, like on eBay for example, and promote it on your social media pages. This will give you a good idea of how your customers value your work, and you might be surprised at the price collectors will pay for a doll they really want. I think the problem with being self-employed as a full-time artist is that there's a lot of work involved apart from the actual making process that people don't take into account. You have to source and buy materials, there's photographing and filming your work, there's maintaining a website and social media pages, packing, shipping orders. It all takes time and you need to factor that into your prices. It's a delicate balancing act. I barely make the UK minimum wage for the hours I put in, and I think this is where fan funding platforms can be useful. YouTube has options for larger creators, but for those of us who aren't quite there yet, sites like Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon can be a lifeline. I actually just set up a Buy Me a Coffee page with options for one-off tips and monthly or yearly membership. If you feel like supporting me, you'll get some exclusive content on there that won't be available anywhere else. I'll put a link to it down in the description. If you'd like to know more about my doll making process, watch this video next, and I'll see you next time. Bye!